Hola, buenas noches a todos. Creo que ya estamos live. Poco a poco se irán uniendo. Estamos súper emocionados de estar aquí con ustedes esta noche. Tenemos unos muy buenos invitados, aunque la conversación va a ser en inglés, en verdad, siéntanse en confianza de todo lo que no entiendan, lo pueden preguntar por el chat y cualquier cosa también, siempre recuerden que nos pueden escribir a través de info@causalocal.com para más información sobre Kiva, para más información sobre WeFunder y en confianza, ¿verdad? Alguien del equipo les envía la información y coordinan una llamada. Es súper importante que nos envíen un mensaje por ese email porque dado que, ¿verdad? Somos un grupo pequeño y estamos recibiendo muchísima información y solicitudes y preguntas, pues ahí nos aseguramos, ¿verdad? Que las canalizamos todas. Causa Local ha crecido y pues ya Ana María no puede estar contestando todos los mensajes de texto, aunque me encantaría, ¿verdad? Pero voy a dar unos minutitos aquí en lo que todo el mundo se va conectando y estamos ready. A mí vamos a estar comenzando. Bueno, pues vamos a comenzar. Welcome to our first Global Entrepreneurship Week event of the week. I am Ana Maria Cintron, for the ones who don't know me, the founder of Causa Local, and we're happy to join our fellow entrepreneurial support organizations in this week that's full of events to help share news, tools, and information for all of you. We are here to continue to help our local small business owners and entrepreneurs. During these events, you'll be learning a little bit more about non-traditional access to capital alternatives for your startup or your small business. Today, we begin this series with the pillars of our access to capital ladder, Kiva and WeFunder. You've probably heard about Kiva because we've been for the past 4 years growing Kiva in Puerto Rico. And actually, Kiva was before Causa Local, even though that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it is. And WeFunder, it's a platform, and I like to think about it, your next step after Kiva. Causa Local is a nonprofit organization that groups different alternatives of access to non-traditional capital for small and medium businesses in Puerto Rico. We have deployed more than 1 million in loans at 0% interest through Kiva, whose local economic impact we just measured, and it exceeds the 1.5 million here in Puerto Rico, so we're very happy for that. Silent applause. So far, we have impacted over 200 entrepreneurs in Puerto Rico and growing by the minute. I'm very excited to have today Catherine Lynch. Catherine, special and close to my heart, and she's an amazing woman out there in Kiva, USA. She's the senior manager of Kiva USA, and she has been working since I first started. So she has seen how we've grown in Puerto Rico. In 2020, she and her team aimed to disperse over $10 million in microloans to over 1,000 entrepreneurs that wouldn't be able to access capital elsewhere. She's an amazing Kiva doer. I must say it and repeat it. Prior to joining Kiva 6 years ago, Catherine worked at both Action East and Grameen America, two other prominent microlenders in the US. So as you can see, she has a great and vast experience regarding crowdlending and non-traditional access to capital. Catherine strongly believes that entrepreneurship and access to affordable capital are foundational to building wealth equity in the United States and in Puerto Rico. Catherine holds a BA from Washington University in St. Louis. Catherine has an master's in social enterprise administration from Columbia University. And Catherine is an amazing person. Hello, Catherine. How are you?
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
See you.
So happy to see your face.
That's how I feel.
So now we're going to also be talking to Donnie Price, Director of Fundraising for WeFunder. Johnny used to be my old boss in Kiva. He left Kiva and now he's in WeFunder. He's originally from the UK, where he started his career in strategy consulting with Oliver Wyman. In 2011, he joined the nonprofit Kiva.org as the founder and director of its US lending division. So thank you, Johnny.
Thank you. Great to be here.
He led that team for 7 years. In early 2010, he joined WeFunder as director of business development. His primary role is recruiting great companies that are excited to use crowdfunding to raise capital and gain customers. He serves on the Federal Reserve Board's Community Advisory Council and has a degree in history from the University of Cambridge. His proudest accomplishment is to be the dad of Felicity and Carl Lillet. You're right. You have two amazing little kids that are beautiful. Welcome, Johnny.
Three now. Margot, 2. The bio's out of date.
You're keeping busy these days. Props to you. Last but not least, meet Todd Falk. He's new to our local community and founder and CEO of App and founder in residence with WeFunder. We're very excited to have met Todd through Johnny and WeFunder. He's a serial entrepreneur and current founder CEO of App, a restaurant marketing platform in New York. With the impacts of COVID putting a pause on App, Todd was joined up with WeFunder to help educate entrepreneurs in equity crowdfunding, focusing primarily on Puerto Rico. We're super excited because there's a huge need for access to capital here. Todd successfully raised almost $500,000 via equity crowdfunding and is looking to use his experience and expertise to assist many more to achieve more. Hi, Todd. How are you doing? How's everyone doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you very much, and I'm glad to be here with you guys.
Yes. How's the cold in New York, Catherine? Is it good? How's the weather there?
Well, you guys are the same where it's at least super dark now, but it is getting a little cold. I keep talking to Ana Maria about how I'd like to spend some time in Puerto Rico this coming winter.
Please do so. We would be extremely excited to receive you. Todd can also be he can vouch for us. The climate right now is really nice. It's sunny, but not that hot, and it's not cold.
Absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend.
That's amazing. So let me get started with a round of questions we've gathered to just, continue to deploy information in an orderly manner. So Catherine, tell us, what is Kiva, and most importantly, why Kiva?
Well, let's start with why. Johnny definitely was formative in this language, and I think it sticks around. But the idea is that dreams are equal, but access to capital isn't, and access to opportunities aren't in the United States and in Puerto Rico, especially for some entrepreneurs in Puerto Rico. And so the kind of why and the ethos of Kiva is really meant to be the first rung on the capital ladder for entrepreneurs that are otherwise excluded from typical forms of financing. So we don't have a minimum credit score when other lenders typically have to turn people away when they're below a certain threshold of lending. We don't have collateral requirements when other lenders need to have a lien on a house or a car to be able to take a risk on somebody. We use social connections like that with entrepreneurs between their business in Causa locale or entrepreneurs in their communities to kind of indicate to us that somebody's worth taking a shot on. Mm-hmm. And the idea is by trying to invest in as many folks as possible, we're really trying to change the narrative of actually there are creditworthy entrepreneurs out there, and we should be taking risks on them and giving them that access to capital so that they can be growing their dreams kind of independent of how included they are in the typical financial systems. And you said, what is Kiva too, right? So
somebody's out there probably hearing us and they're like, Kiva.
Yeah. So Kiva itself, so we talked about why. What is it? It's a crowd lending platform. So Kiva has a community of 1 million plus individuals that come on and are looking to support different people's dreams. They might be in 80 different countries around the world. They might be in Puerto Rico or across the United States. What we offer entrepreneurs here in the United States and Puerto Rico is a 0% interest loan in between $1,000 to $15,000. And that is through this process of crowdfunding. So entrepreneurs come and they apply through an application on our site. They get approved for a certain loan size, and then they go through this process where they're both recruiting friends and family to support their loan. Not a gift, not a crowdfunded, donation, but a loan. And then they go up onto Kiva's public platform where individuals from all over the world can see and support their campaigns.
That's amazing, Catherine. And how would you describe the Puerto Rican market? You've been with us since the very beginning.
Oh, I mean, Ana Maria has really been the huge driver of kind of access to capital, particularly on Kiva within Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico market is hot and hotter than it's ever been, I think. And that's a testament to what Causa Local is doing. And also a testament to the fact that, I mentioned there's a lot of different individuals coming to Kiva to be supporting different entrepreneurs. They love Puerto Rican borrowers. We have a hard time keeping Puerto Rican borrowers on the site long enough because people are coming and they're choosing to support the work that you guys are doing on the island and the way that you're growing your communities and your businesses and what you're aiming to achieve.
Yeah. And if you would have to tell us and the people that are listening to us, why do we need to disrupt access to capital, especially here in the island? What would you tell them to our donors also that are listening, to our potential applicants?
I mean, I think we know that the traditional financial system has certain parameters that can be inclusive or exclusive depending on who you are. The typical financial systems are based off of some typical, C's of credit. But if you are someone who's not coming from a place of high income or high wealth transfer or high banking access, or a place where you know what a credit score is and how to build it, you're just kind of set aside from typical opportunities where other entrepreneurs might have access to them. And I think that's even exacerbated on the island where, language may be a challenge, or just relative levels of inclusion, and the offerings available to entrepreneurs has its own kind of complexities. And so, especially given that there's additional hurdles in banking access within the island of Puerto Rico, it's so important that there's tools available. And I think that, again, that shines in the way that Kiva lenders are eager to support Puerto Rican entrepreneurs. And, hopefully leads to more types of investment that are available.
Yeah, I mean, we've already impacted 200, and my dream is that the 20% of those 200 continue to grow because they want to grow. And hopefully access to capital is not it's not something that can be done. Well, Catherine, thank you for your answers. We're super happy to have you here. Now we're going to talk to Johnny. Johnny, if you want to bring your baby to the live, that's no problem. I would love to meet the third baby.
No, she's trying to go to sleep in the other room. But
Okay,
whenever I go off video, it's because I'm going to try to put pacifier in her mouth.
We're just happy you were able to join tonight. And feel free to come back and forth. But really fast, before you leave, tell us, what is WeFunder? How did you connect with WeFunder? How did you get there? How did you go from Kiva to WeFunder?
Yeah, I left Kiva in 2018. I founded the US team there in 2011 and then grew that for 7 years. And then in early 2018, I left to join WeFunder. It was awesome to work for so many years with both you in Puerto Rico and Catherine in New York, and a bunch of other amazing people as well. I'm super proud of what we all did together at Kiva and what you guys have continued to do since I left. But yeah, WeFunder, I've been here coming up on 3 years now, and we are an investment crowdfunding platform. So whereas on Kiva, borrowers can get, kind of micro loans, usually up to about, what is it, Catherine, now, 15K?
Yes.
$15,000. On WeFunder, and the lenders are kind of lending at 0% interest. On WeFunder, as a founder of a startup or a small business, you can raise investment capital from investors who are looking at earning a financial return, either by lending you money and earning an interest rate on that. That's a relatively small percentage of what we do, about 10%, or by investing in the equity of your business which is about 90% of what we do on WeFunder. And obviously, if someone's investing in equity in your business, what they hope is that your business grows in value, and the value of their equity then grows over time. So it's just like, most startups are raising capital from angel investors, some institutional investors. So what WeFunder does is take that capital raising process and just democratize that, enable anyone to be an investor in your company for as little as $100. And there's a nice kind of complementarity with Kiva. So if Kiva's up to 15K, WeFunder then kind of takes over. The average WeFunder campaign raises about $300,000. So it can be much larger sums of capital for businesses that are maybe a little bit further along. So that's what we're all about.
And that's amazing. How do you think WeFunder can help continue to grow small businesses here in Puerto Rico? I mean, we only have 3 banks, so and a very few private investors.
Yeah, I mean, I think like any business that's looking at raising $50,000 up to $5 million should consider WeFunder as an option, alongside banks, alongside if there's CDFIs, if there's, other options. I mean, Kickstarter and Indiegogo are other crowdfunding options that are good options for entrepreneurs with a product or a perk that people might want. But if you're a founder and you're raising $50K to $5 million, then you should absolutely talk to Todd and at least consider it. And I think, there's kind of two benefits of WeFunder for me to a founder. One, we make it easier to raise the money because now unaccredited investors can invest as well as accredited investors. You can publicly promote the offering. You get in front of WeFunder's 700,000 investors. So we make it easier for you to raise the money, firstly, than if you're trying to raise the money outside of the WeFunder platform. And then secondly, the cool thing, and this is consistent across Kiva and WeFunder, if you raise $500,000 from 1,000 people, a lot of those are going to be your customers. A lot of those are going to be, potential brand ambassadors, or now they're kind of champion helping you. And so that idea of kind of recruiting an army of supporters is the other real benefit that I think we can bring to entrepreneurs there in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I think we worked with a firm and they did for us like a impact report kind of. Well, no, not an impact report. Sorry, like research of how the market in the island was, and literally, there's like a huge need for small businesses that are being unaddressed, and the range is 50K to 200,000. Because we have great things going on, but there's also so much work we still need to do in regards to access to capital. So, if you would have to say in one sentence, how would you disrupt access to capital in Puerto Rico? Go.
I think basically allow anyone to invest in startups and small businesses that they like and believe in, rather than just limiting those investment opportunities to millionaires and billionaires.
Yes, that's amazing and great answer. And I just have one quick last question. How would you compare the underwriting with Kiva and then with WeFunder? Because it's obviously, 2 different underwritings. The process has probably to be different. And I imagine the WeFunder, your underwriting is, it takes more time, more hours.
Yeah, in some senses, like you need to do some paperwork with the SEC. There's some background checks, so you need to get some financials done. And so, in some senses, it's certainly more kind of, it's probably a longer process for sure. In another sense, I mean, we don't really have too many hard criteria on the WeFunder side. The challenge is just you need to pitch the investment opportunity and persuade investors to invest in you they are expecting to make money on their investment, right? So if they don't think they're going to make money on their investment, then you're not going to be able to raise the $100,000. And so it's almost like a pitch to them, but it's almost like every investor is doing their own due diligence and underwriting. So in some respects, I guess that makes it easier, but it is a lot harder work to raise, $200,000 on WeFunder than it is to raise $10,000 on Kiva. But there are no hard criteria from an underwriting perspective.
And that's why we're so happy to have Todd today, so he can talk a little bit more about how he raised almost $500,000. Hi, Todd. Good night. Thank you, Todd.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Doing great. We're excited to be here with all of you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit, how did you get to Puerto Rico? You're living here, right?
Yeah, so currently I am living in Old San Juan. A big thing for me, my journey to end up here is I still am the CEO of App, but again, since we are mostly restaurant focused, primarily for dine-in New York City. Catherine, as you probably know, New York City dine-in is not doing too wonderful right now. So because we decided the smartest thing to do with our investors' money is to hold on to it and wait for the entire pandemic to start to pass so we get more guidance and clarity. So I said to myself, what do I want to do? As an entrepreneur, sitting still twiddling my thumbs is not something I've ever been very good at. So it really dawned on me that a big thing I've been very passionate about just in general is talking to a lot of my friends and fellow entrepreneurs and co-founders of companies about equity crowdfunding in general, because it really helped us. I wish I could say, hey, I come from a rich family, I went to an Ivy League school, or I know all these VC. I don't know anybody. I graduated from a state school in Pennsylvania. So for me, raising capital, it was difficult. You're trying to get introductions to wealthy people who are accredited. And even then, it's then convincing 1 million people. And it's always the same story. Oh, yeah, we like it. We'll talk to you later about it, or some other reason. But for us, with equity crowdfunding in general, it opened up an opportunity where a lot of the people who were very excited for our platform weren't people worth millions. They were the people who were going to benefit from our platform. Just a quick pitch. App is a mobile platform where you can get a complimentary appetizer whenever you dine at any of our partner restaurants. So the majority of people who love to go out and eat are going to love a complimentary appetizer. So it really resonated with a lot of people who love to, engage in that type of activity. But for a lot of the wealthier spectrum, the accredited investors, it was like, oh, okay, let's, do more with less and we'll figure it out. So we launched on our platform, did extremely well, raised just under $500,000. And I wanted to bring that knowledge, that knowledge base, the understanding of what we did to the people of Puerto Rico, because as a person who has been to the island multiple times, I firmly believe, after I've chatted with a lot of people and a lot of entrepreneurs, the island has a lot to offer. There's a lot of really smart people, a lot of wonderful entrepreneurs, and the biggest issue that they really run into, as you've mentioned, is honestly just access to capital.
There's no money because
exactly. And I believe that if I could use my understanding, my knowledge base, and my experience, I can help educate people. I come into a unique position. I have a company who's raised money on WeFunder. I am an active investor in WeFunder, and now I'm actually working with WeFunder to try to open up and educate more people on it. So I'm probably one of the very few people who has covered all three roles in this spectrum and can speak to it with any level of knowledge in those respects.
Yes. No, we're very excited you're here in Puerto Rico, and I think, oh my God, hold on, parentheses. So cute.
Adorable.
I can't believe you have 3 kids. I'm so happy for you. They're so cute. Cheers.
I need to stay on mute right now.
Aww. I can't be more excited than I have seen your baby. Super cute, too cute. She's ready to party. Yeah, she's ready to party. Amazing. If you're an entrepreneur and want to have babies, you have to think about it and organize yourself. But it's adorable. So Todd, what have you seen in the island? Can you tell us a little bit more of that? And can you explain a bit more, what is equity crowdfunding for the ones that are listening? A lot of, in Puerto Rico, sometimes even the word equity, people don't understand it. And my God, there's another one.
we're multiplying over here.
Oh my gosh.
This is Felicity.
Yes,
Sorry, Todd.
No problem. Two down. One to go.
Hi, Felicity.
Say hi.
Oh my God, it's adorable. This is a tough act to follow. I want you to know that. I'll try to be as adorable as possible myself. So. Oh, that's great. All right. So, what is equity crowdfunding?
Yeah.
Long story short, equity crowdfunding, and the way we took it is, just with think of it like the stock market. You're giving up a little bit of ownership of your company to raise money. For some small business owners, that's giving up any ownership is a very scary thing, right? But the truth is, you have to understand this as like an opportunity to bring on unique partners. And that's really the most important part of the whole thing. Is a lot of balancing and understanding how much to give up versus, how much to hold on to yourself. You never want to give up enough that you lose control of your company. This actually was a mistake I made very, very early on with one of my first companies, and something I make sure I will never repeat again. The great thing about equity crowdfunding is a lot of times you can set your terms. Typically, with a lot of raises, you want to give away like 15 to 20%, depending on what you're doing. And a lot of investors view that as a great thing. But more importantly is you have to view your investors as partners. Mm-hmm. One of the most important things that I've done already is, because the New York market is a little rough right now with restaurants, we have investors from all over the US. I shot an email out to all my investors and said, hey, we're looking to potentially open a market in one of these cities. It was Austin, Atlanta, Miami, basically a warmer area, Phoenix, that can have outdoor seating all year round, just in case we have to do some type of pivot. The best part is I got 93 introductions to restaurant managers and restaurant owners, all from my entire investor base. Mm-hmm. Not only are they looking to just invest because they want to see you succeed, but because they've invested and there's an upside for them. If you want them to be actively involved, you can. It's not just a possibility for them to be your customers. They also have an ability to be some level of an advisory board. If you want to reach out, hey, we're thinking about adding this feature. Hey, my 2,000 investors, what are your thoughts? Great. I get instantaneous feedback from people who really want to be engaged. So it's a major benefit to equity crowdfunding. So the big one I always try to tell people is, don't be afraid to give away a little bit of your company. Just be smart in what you phrase and what you set up your terms to be. And again, on a platform like WeFunder, you can set your terms to be beneficial to you while still being able to provide a great upside to your potential investors.
I think it's something I love about WeFunder, to be honest, because you said something very important. No one can grow alone. Even though you're when you're starting, you're a one show person, but still you probably have advisors or partners or ex-bosses that help you. So I think you said something super important that many people here are afraid to. I'm afraid to get a loan, or I'm afraid to go out and look for investment. And they shouldn't, it's part of growing, and it's super necessary for growth. So thank you for that information. I'm going to go back to Catherine, that's over there in New York. What do you see are what do you think people really need to consider when they're starting an application in Kiva? What tips can you share? For example, I love to tell them, hey, try to submit it as completely as possible. because if you avoid so much back and forth, which like delays the process. So, you know, if you can share more tips like that, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a couple components to a really strong Kiva application. So the first is kind of the financial and document side of the Kiva application. We're going to ask you some basic questions about your business income, your household income, your debt, and your expenses. So kind of knowing and having a feel for what those numbers are before you start filling out the application is going to make it a little bit easier. And as possible, or as you have them, we'll ask you to upload documents, whether including business proof and potentially tax returns, any additional information, though it's not required, any additional information you can share with us helps us look at your profile and potentially qualify you for a larger loan size. Then there's kind of the written kind of storytelling and narrative component of the Kiva application. So I mentioned it's this giant crowdfunding platform, and people are coming to back dreams and create access to capital. And the way that you present yourself and the way that you tell your story on Kiva really matters. So there's a section for a photo. You can upload a video too if you have one, though it's not required. And there's also a section where you're speaking to the, you know, who you are, your business, and kind of what your mission is. The photo is far away the most important part. Like that really, like it's a, you know, it's a quick world. Like we're using photo. Like I used to, you know, say that like, I used to compare Kiva like a little bit to like a dating application where it's like you're kind of picking people off of the pictures. You're like swiping for entrepreneurs. And so I'm not trying to say like, you know, get slutty in your picture or anything like that. But I am saying that a photo is worth at least $15,000. And so putting effort into the picture that you choose to represent your business is important. We usually suggest borrowers have a well-lit picture, something that kind of shows them at work at their business. And so that's kind of, you know, if you're a agriculture business that's, you know, out, you know, in the field or tending to whatever crop or, you know,
money for or to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if, you know, sometimes it's like my business is on the computer, like it's actually a digitally based business. That's okay too. Just like kind of, you know, like stage a picture of yourself working at your computer and being a business. And it's important that you smile, people can see your face. And then the written section, don't go crazy with. Like brevity is great. People don't read a ton. And so it's okay to be, oh, Justin's here. It's okay to be short and sweet with the way that you present your story. What I'll say, though, is what's really important is being concise and specific in the way that you're thinking about your loan use. Mm-hmm. And so, especially because Kiva is a small amount of money and often is used for not the whole business, but kind of a project or a component of your business, speaking to that and kind of indicating the way that this, you know, $1,000 to $15,000 is a discrete project that's kind of move the needle for your business is really helpful for conveying the impact of, if you get me XYZ piece of machinery, then my output will grow by XYZ%. And then I will be able to make XYZ more money because of kind of this like cause and effect use of funds that unlocks growth for me. And so being really specific and clear about that makes it really easy for lenders to get it and then to feel even better about investing in your business.
I agree. And I think it all comes down to character as well. Sometimes I try to explain, we do a qualitative and quantitative review and people kind of don't get it. But character is very important when you're doing Kiva because it's part of, you know, one of the mission, the vision. And I think that's super important.
For sure. Banks think of character as credit score, right? Yeah. And for us, character really does mean like who your connections are and like, and if they're willing to support you on Kiva. And then also if you're willing to work with folks like Ana Maria, who is helping pave the way for creating access to capital, technical assistance, like her validation of your business goes a long way for us when we're looking at your application.
Yeah,
beautiful banks, and thank you to our bank sponsors.
Yes, thank you to our bank sponsors. Thank you to Banco Popular. I mean, like I always say, that people tell me, "Are you competing with a bank?" Not really, actually. we're helping create good and educated profiles that will eventually be their clients. So in that sense, we're working with our small business owners so they can eventually go to the banking industry or to cooperativas or to platforms like WeFunder. What would you say is like the biggest misconception with Kiva, Catherine?
People think it's a scam all the time. Like 0%, why? Like, how does that make sense? And the way that so people are always like, well, what's the catch? Like, how does Kiva do what it's doing at 0%? Kiva is a nonprofit, and
that is also a nonprofit. That's a question that comes out a long way as well.
Yeah. And so rather than taking incremental interest from entrepreneurs as they're coming through, the lenders are coming and they're making small incremental donations every time or some of the time that they choose to lend through Kiva. And those teeny tiny incremental donations compound to be a really significant component of our operating budget. So while we're not charging an interest to Kiva borrowers, the lenders are really kind of not only supporting the businesses on Kiva, but also supporting Kiva itself so that we can keep our lights on, pay my salary, pay Justin's vacation days that he's still getting paid out through Kiva.
By the way, who doesn't know who Justin is? Justin used to work in Kiva. He also used to be my boss. He used to work with Catherine and Justin. And Johnny, and I really don't know what Justin is up to, but next, if we have break at the end, he can like participate and says, you know, where in the world is Justin right now? I'm gonna pass on to Johnny now. Johnny, if you would have to describe the ideal or the different profiles that are ideal for WeFunder, how would you describe them?
Yeah, I think the most important criteria for a founder that's going to be a good fit for WeFunder is how much money you're raising, 50K to 5 million being your target. Within that, honestly, we're pretty agnostic. So we do, you know, breweries and distilleries. There's a rum company in Puerto Rico that's live on WeFunder right now.
Yes,
Todd is an investor. And I believe connoisseur of rum as well. So, you know, it can be Main Street businesses, but it can be tech startups. It can be biotech companies. It can be, you know, food and beverage companies. We really do run the gamut. I think B2C is slightly more of a sweet spot than B2B because if you have a huge audience of customers and who love your product, they might be willing to invest in you, and you can go to that audience to see the campaign. And then also, if they do invest in you, then you can kind of get their help you know, or you can recruit them as customers. So I think B2C is slightly more the sweet spot, but we've had many B2B companies that have raised $1 million on WeFunder. And so, you know, obviously companies that are growing quickly, companies that are a compelling investment opportunity for the investors that they will be pitching, both in their own network in Puerto Rico, on WeFunder. So, you know, companies that are growing quickly and that are going to be attractive to investors are really in spot for us.
Where are investors coming from? I know it's all around the world, right? But are you seeing?
Yeah, all around the world. Like vast majority are based in the US. I think this is Kiva. About 80%, or at least when I was there, 80% of the volume is coming from the Kiva lender base, and 20% coming from people recruited by the small business. I know with WeFunder, that's almost flipped. Usually it's about 2/3 of the investment capital is coming from people that the founder is recruiting, and then 1/3 coming from the WeFunder investor base. And the people that the founder is recruiting, and just to make this very explicit, I think we've touched on this to be clear. One of the two cool things about regulation crowdfunding, which is how we allow founders to raise money, is that firstly, you can publicly promote the offering. But normally when you're offering securities, you have to privately solicit investors. But with WeFunder, you can publicly promote it on Facebook, in an email campaign, on a webinar like this one. And then the second thing is that anyone can invest in you, not just investors, not just millionaires and billionaires. And so through these two ways, you basically help any founder to raise more money from their network and from their kind of pitching of their company and their investment opportunity than if they were trying to do that just kind of pitching rich people behind closed doors.
That's amazing. And how many, somebody that raises like Todd $500,000, how many lenders are average?
So, yeah, it's actually for Todd, it was investors. We do some debt, but for Todd, it was equity. So they weren't lenders, they were equity investors. But on average, investments on WeFunder are $1,000. And so typically, if you raise $500,000, you'd expect to have 500 investors who, as Todd mentioned earlier, I thought that was a really cool story that I hadn't heard before. That's 500 people that if you ask them, hey, we're looking at expanding into a new market, do you know any restaurateurs that we could connect with? And you get 93 intros. But typically $1,000 is the average investment amount on WeFunder. And of course, like when you're offering investors a rate of return, then the amount that they're willing to invest becomes a lot higher than on Kiva, where lenders are motivated more by kind of philanthropic kind of motivation.
Yeah. So we have a question from the audience. Somebody's asking the difference between Kiva and WeFunder, and you can take it from Belay. You can both, Catherine and Johnny and Todd, say something about it. But I would love to say that it's the stage in which your business is in, I think, because Kiva is a much more easier process. And at the same time, it is for people that are starting. And then WeFunder asks you for more information, more documents. And I think in WeFunder, the projections are very important. But
yeah, I think that's the easiest way to think about it is if you're raising up to $15,000, then Kiva is the better place. And then if you're raising more money, larger sums of money, then WeFunder's the right place. That's the easiest way to.
Johnny and I both love to talk about the capital ladder. The idea being that there's different rungs that you can climb as it just grows in its maturity and its needs. And so you can think of Kiva as the first, and then you can think of WeFunder as the second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on.
And Todd mentioned crowdfunding. I think you mentioned it before, and I think crowdfunding like Kickstarter is when you're really starting. That you don't even have like a month of sale. It's much more easier, to run a campaign with the people around you and people that know you. So I see it the same way. I see it as a different steps in a ladder. You continue to grow.
I'm going to jump in just for one little part. So the big thing is don't assume that you need to raise 500,000. Our initial goal was 50. Like I'm going to be really real on this one. Like we had some level.
You have $1 million. Like that's amazing.
I'm really good at talking to people. I'm not joking. I think something like 85% of the money we raised was reaching out to people. I viewed it in a very unique, maybe not unique, but to me, it was unique. The moment our campaign opened up, I went from the mindset of I need to find these VCs, these angel investors who have a lot of money, to literally every single person I speak to is a potential investor. And I think that's very important. Part of the being able to reach out publicly is not just, hey, save it for a Facebook advertisement or save it for a panel you're part of. It's talk to your neighbor. One of my closest friends, John, he was the manager at this one company, and he brought all of his team out in New York to this. I want to press. Pre-COVID, brought his entire 30-something person team out to drinks and a dinner, just as a thank you because they were crushing it. And he told me about it, so I came along. I talked to all 30 people, told them about my company, had a great time with them, and at the end of it, 5 people invested. Why? Because every single person is an opportunity. And I believe the biggest success in all of that, with the ability to talk to everybody, is talk to everybody. One of the greatest parts of just a WeFunder in general, or equity crowdfunding, is if you look at the market in general, just the stock market overall, the biggest discrepancy of wealth is the richest people are able to invest in new ideas. They could put more money into stocks. They could put all these things. And I'm speaking this from like a person who's not fully an accredited investor yet. One day, I now have the opportunity to get into these these things early enough that I can now reap great benefits that the wealthy have typically held all to themselves. So now,
democratize. I love that.
Yeah.
Way.
No, it's a great way to put it. But like, it's a wonderful opportunity for investors as well as for founders to raise money. Like, it's honestly, and again, speaking from multiple perspectives, it's a win-win. And that's just why I went from just being a founder to someone who's invested in multiple companies already.
And can I just double down on that, because what Todd said there is like so important, and it's kind of really, I guess, motivated like, you know, my career over the last decade, both at Kiva and now WeFunder. WeFunder is a public benefit corporation and a B Corp. If you go to wefunder.com/charter, you can read our PBC charter, which is a big part of the reason why I work here. And I'm sure Todd as well. And as he was saying, you know, historically, until May 2016, when regulation crowdfunding went into effect, the only people that can invest in cool early stage private companies were millionaires and billionaires and institutions and accredited investors. And so now what WeFunder is doing is allowing anyone listening to invest in a cool startup for $100. So that's the democratization of who gets to be an angel investor, who gets to kind of participate in the wealth that's being created by these fast growing startups. And then what's cool on the other side is that if you look right now in the percentage of venture capital that's going to Black founders, it's about 1% of VC going to Black founders, similar percentage going to Latinx founders. 3% of VC last year went to female-only founder teams versus 80% going to male-only founder teams. And 77% of venture capital in America went to 3 states, California, New York, and Massachusetts. And so partly what we're doing on the founder side is, you know, if we can empower ordinary people listening to this webinar to become investors for $100, rather than having those decisions be kind of centrally made by gatekeepers, then we can get more equitable allocations of capital happening, more capital flowing to founders of color, women, you know, geographies that aren't San Francisco, New York City, and Boston. So on both the founder side and the investor side, that for us is what kind of a more democratic approach to allocation of capital and early stage investing means.
That's amazing. We're almost out of time because it's almost 8 p.m. And I was going to ask something to Justin, but he left.
If I could say something really quick.
Of course.
So like a big thing I want to stress is I'm currently here in Puerto Rico. For anyone who's listening, who's looking at that, you know, 50,000 plus raise, reach out to me. I'm here. I'm ready to talk. My whole point is to help you succeed the way I did. I'm happy to give any information, anything possible to help you move to that next step. So please reach out to me. I am here to help.
Todd, how can people get in contact with you? By the way, we will be inviting you to other events as well, so no worries. He's now the local entrepreneur of Puerto Rico.
Good job, Todd. You haven't screwed up so much on this call that they're never going to invite you to anything else. Good job, dude.
Success.
It's all about character. Even if he screwed up and he has a cool character, he's welcome to the club.
I love it. I want
to ask one last question to Todd. You said something super interesting that honestly has helped me and the team in Causa grow. And you said something about leveraging your relationship with your investors. Can you expand a little bit more on that? Because I think people that own a business need to understand, or even a nonprofit, they need to understand the importance of that relationship, because those are the relationships that will help you grow. And will help you either raise capital or receive donations. So can you tell us a little bit? For me, it's like a 24/7 job.
All right. So you ready for this?
Yes.
It is not as hard as you think. I'm dead serious on this. So communication is always the most important thing. And everyone thinks that you have to communicate constantly. You don't. I shoot out about a quarterly email. letting all of my investors know where we're at, what we're doing, what decisions we made, what were the results, and what do we plan on making next. People who invest in you are investing in understanding more about you and your company, right? So being informed is the most important thing. They want to be involved. I'm dead serious. They don't want to like sit back and like, like be super involved. But like, if you feel the question, you want to try something, like you want to add this new feature, you want to do this new thing, or you want to reach out to a new area, ask them. I'm dead serious. Ask them. I'll use this. You're a rum company and you're like, hey, we're thinking of expanding to the Florida market. I have 300 Florida investors. Hey, would you guys buy my product if I opened up down there? Trust me, they'll let you. You know what? Then start a pre-order and let them pre-order. Let them talk. Use them as a wonderful resource because they want you to succeed more than anybody, but probably yourself. There's a wonderful opportunity if you use them for that.
Amazing, Todd. And I think you said something super important. We have a super guest. This has made my night. Honestly, I'm so happy to see you. For people that don't know who Justin is, he will introduce himself, but he was the first person I talked to, I think, in Kiva USA. And I remember being in Olsen 1 in front of Piloto 151 in the plaza, and I called Justin, and he was like, yeah, it's okay. I'll let you grow Kiva in Puerto Rico. Are you like alone growing it? And I'm like, yes. Like, okay. So thank you, John. And Justin, we've come such a long way. Kiva has made me so happy here in Puerto Rico. And we've been many, many people that needed it.
I'm so proud of what you accomplished, Anna Maria. That was in 2016, 2015. You've been absolutely slaying it down there, and we've done a lot of impact. So a true testament to your commitment and your character and your kind of passion for helping people in Puerto Rico. Super rad.
Justin, can you give a few words? Who are you?
All entrepreneurs
can meet you.
All entrepreneurs should do Kiva, especially early on. It's a no-brainer. $5,000 to $10,000, 0% interest, community capital, build that foundation. It's an absolute no-brainer. The banks are bad. Kiva's good, not entirely, but that's what we're trying to we're trying to pull a quick one on the banks, and we're winning. So.
They're just not there yet, but they're
after you do the Kiva stuff and you make best friends with Anna Maria, then you go over to Todd, you talk to Todd, you become best friends with him, then you raise lots of money on WeFunder, and it's a beautiful scenario.
You're a good client for the local banks.
Dude, well, hey, listen, we want to play friendly with everyone. The reality is all entrepreneurs construct capital in a variety of different ways. These are two really plausible, viable, powerful channels to build community and raise capital. It's kind of, you get to double dip on both platforms. This whole concept of like social underwriting and underwriting by character has been, was created at Kiva because of, Johnny Price, the mastermind. He's the smartest kid in the room. And then it was... And then it was kind of accelerated by what we're doing at WeFunder, and it all kind of bleeds together. So I couldn't be more proud of what especially what we accomplished at Kiva over that time span. The fact that you guys kept it going, and that we found ways to kind of continue that ethos, in a different forum with what we're doing at WeFunder now.
That's amazing. And what are you up to now, Justin? Where in the world are you?
I'm in San Diego. I'm about to drive to the beach. I got my, it's 80 degrees here. So I'm still soaking in the sun. And if anybody ever finds their way in San Diego, look me up. I got a boat charter business.
I was gonna go once, right after Maria, but I didn't, I went to LA, but I wasn't able to go to San Diego.
Well,
I have it on my list.
Catherine Lynch, you still haven't made it on the boat, homie. What that?
Yeah, I still have some credit from Justin's first round of crowdfunding for his boat business that I need to cash
might
in.
Expire soon, Kay Lynch.
Coming to California.
Oh man, no, it's awesome to reconnect. I was so happy to stumble on this one today. You guys are amazing, and Anna Maria, a true testament to you and what you've built in Puerto Rico. It's incredible. You've done an incredible job, and I couldn't be more proud of what you've been able to build down there.
Yeah, we will party soon when all of this is over, and you can all come over to Puerto Rico. Well, you came. You came once, and Catherine too.
Hey, we did an advisor training down in
Banco Popular in a bank.
That's true.
We fund a team trip to Puerto Rico in 2021. It's on.
I'm coming.
You're there.
Well, I don't want to take anybody else's time because we said it was only going to be until 8 p.m. But we're very excited. Thank you for your time and thank you for helping us continue to educate. And Todd will be in communication. Justin, you just made my week, my month. It's been a couple of intense weeks. So happy to say hi to you.
Love it. Good seeing everyone. Cheers.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna Maria.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll talk soon. Bye.
All right.